So kind of the three big things that we can talk about, and we can narrow in on them, but one of them being, what about weekly gatherings, right? What are you guys doing in lieu of the weekly gatherings, or how have those changed? The other one is, how are you staying connected with your students? And the third is, how are we supporting parents? So yeah, let's just start with weekly gatherings. Um, Whoever wants to kind of just jump in there and let us know what you guys have done already or are thinking about doing. Yeah, let's hear what you guys got.
I know for us, the one thing that we're doing in Chilliwack right now, like we don't have like a ton of online engagement for students. We don't know how it'll work for us, and if we had better, it probably would work better. But we're gonna do Zoom call. Is kind of like the way we've kind of zeroed in on it. We tried it with our leaders on Tuesday, and it seemed to work really good. It's like $20 a month per host, and you can have up to 100 people on it. So we thought that'd probably be the best thing for us. But I was trying to think, how could we take some certain elements we have on Tuesday night and take that into a Zoom call? So as far as games, you can screen share on Zoom calls like this. So we can actually screen share things like Kahoot. Another one would be like things like Jackbox TV, those types of games where students could actually play on their phones and still interact and have a bit of a crowd thing. Even on here, one thing one of our leaders said is that when you do a share screen, there's also a whiteboard function, so you can actually play like group Pictionary, so one person can be drawing and other people can try to guess what it is, kind of thing. So that's kind of what we thought of. And even a giveaway, one thing I've seen too is that a neat way to do a giveaway is that the giveaway isn't necessarily like, here's some money or a prize or anything. It's kind of hard to deliver, so you can actually say, hey, the prize tonight is that you get a pizza delivered to your doorstep. So just simple things like that, just to kind of take from a Tuesday night and adding it onto a Zoom call. The one thing we haven't quite figured out, because it would require like a separate Zoom call, is doing small groups and such. But we would essentially do the talk here. The one thing that I know for us that we've thought about as leadership is, when it comes to things like plan to protect, is that on a Tuesday night, what we do is we create a safe space for all of our students in one space. And when you open that up to a Zoom call, you're essentially trying to create a safe space online, but also including up to 30 to 50 other spaces that you don't really have control over what may happen there. So that's the difficulty with it that we found, is that we don't know how that's going to go. That's a potential risk. That's all. So that's kind of what we've done so far, what we're thinking going forward.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Jesse. Anyone else? What have you guys been doing? What's been your game plan?
So we have an online presence on our Instagram and our Facebook page, and so we've been doing devotionals Tuesday to Friday. So we actually had a schedule of who was speaking, and so they all did their sermons, and then they're like, okay, what do we do with them now? And so we broke them up into 3 to 4 sections, and so they're little bite-sized devos, and we launch it at 7:00 Tuesday to Friday, and we hop on we have what's called squads. Those are our small groups, and so each squad leader has created a DM group, so direct message group, where students can come and they can chat through, they can talk about their day, and they can talk about the question, like the discussion question that's posed that day. So so that's kind of what we're doing. We do weekly squad challenges where they can earn points, and we have new content every week. So that's been kind of what we've been doing.
That's really good.
Yeah, anyone else? Or what kind of questions do you guys have? Like what are you guys struggling with when it comes to gatherings or connecting with people or platforms to technology that you're curious about, if they work or not, or if you've used them or haven't used them?
Yeah, we tried going on Messenger last night for it's our regular youth night, and we found out pretty quickly that we could only have eight people, so it turned pretty poor right away. So one of our leaders had Zoom, so we started a Zoom chat, and it worked a lot better than Messenger. So but yeah, just trying to be creative and figure out game ideas. And Jesse had some good game ideas. That was helpful. So those are the kind of ideas that I'm kind of looking for. If anybody else has some ideas to kind of keep youth engaged, that'd be great. So thanks for putting this on, Austin.
Yeah, no problem. So yeah, let's throw that out there to everyone. Let's think of some thoughts of keeping the kids engaged, making sure that these Zoom or whatever platform you're using is a kind of a two-way communication, and not just one way, one person speaking and everyone else consuming. But what's your guys' thoughts of ways we can keep it engaging?
The one thing that I know I wrestle with for us is not so much like it's one engaging, but it's not giving into for us like we just need to keep entertained. Like we just need to put something in front of them on their screen. Like, we just need them to click like or something. Like it's not just getting them to engage in that way. It's actually saying how can we actually still connect with them in a relational way, which is still key. So the one way we're doing that is actually not focusing on social media for that, the one-on-one engagement, because I know for students, like I'll comment on students' accounts and be like, hey, like so good you're having a good day or something like that. And they'll like it instantly because they're just so inundated and stuff on their phones right now because they don't know what else to do. So our plan right now is really just connecting with students one-on-one by just calling them up, saying, hey, how are you doing? How's your family doing? That's how we support parents too, is just saying, hey, how are you doing? Just checking in with them. Because especially right now, like we just really want to keep communicating that social distancing doesn't mean social isolation. But I think students have gotten so, this generation, I guess, has gotten so like hung up on like that. It's like, oh, I need to connect with my friends through social media, but you don't have like a voice. You don't have someone who's there. That's why things like Zoom, I think, are really good tools to use with connecting with students, because it's valuable for them. It's actually relational. It's not just text on a screen, right? So that's one thing that we're doing is just calling students up, just calling them up, seeing how they're doing, which for me, like efficiently, like probably doesn't take you more than 10 minutes. Not many students want to talk on the phone for very long anyways, but for the most part, they all appreciate you just even calling them up and caring in that way. So that's how we're really just staying connected to students, trying not to focus on text to students, but more on just picking up the phone.
Yeah, awesome. Just curious, show of hands, who is doing a weekly meeting virtually right now or planning on it? Like a schedule, keeping yours kind of same time or maybe moving the time. Hey, is there anyone that's not doing that and just doing something different than a weekly gathering? We got Robert, Daniel. Would you guys be able to just kind of speak into what you guys are doing outside your weekly meeting?
So for us, we're in a unique situation because we only have a preteen group, and they're kind of ages as low as 8, some of them, to 13. So there's like disparity in social media engagement, and they're limited in how much they can access electronics. So as like a catch-all, one of the things that we're kind of exploring right now is setting up a regular like video gaming live stream that they can access through YouTube. Having like a live chat kind of component there so you can just stay connected. I'm pretty new here, so I also have the disadvantage of not having really deep connections with a lot of these students. So it's, anyways, but it's a bit of a unique situation, and we're still kind of like exploring. I'm brainstorming with Phil, who's the youth pastor at Gateway, figuring out some ways that we can kind of connect with the specific type of group.
Yeah, that's good. And Daniel, what are you guys up to?
Well, we haven't been doing like a weekly get together yet, and it wasn't part of my plan right away. However, I think if some of you guys are having success and you share that in regards to your meetings, we'd be open to it. Right now, I'm doing like a daily contact through like a devotional, and then I just phone the homes. I spend probably more time talking to parents than I do talking to the actual teens in some ways. Not many of our teens are really good at staying on the phone for very long. But I think that might change depending on how long this lasts, right? That they could have somebody to talk to, depending what their household looks like. But just talking with parents has been like a good opportunity for me to give parents an idea and access to resources that can be helpful for them. I think that Right Now Media, for those of you who have access to Right Now Media, that has quite a few resources that you can use with your students. And I find I think that if we continue on the track that we're doing with creating a daily devotional, connecting with them on Sundays, we do like a virtual church, I guess, experience. And then we have like just church-wide resources, like a daily Zoom call that they can tune into as well. And some of them are planning on doing that at least. Then I think that we'll welcome them in like that. But the daily phone call, I think kind of goes along, or I guess I'm not calling all of them every day. We have too many students for me I would just be sick of talking on the phone that much. But at least probably once a week, sometimes twice a week for most students we're connecting with on the phone. I think that if we are able to continue to do that, and we just stay connected. In some ways, I think that could create more discipleship opportunities and relationship opportunities than our regular programming.
Yeah, that's good. And even going off that, what you said, Daniel, about having, you have too many kids for you to be able to engage with them all on a relational level. For those of you that do have, volunteers, small group leaders, and such, what are you guys doing to engage with them and equipping them to continuing to engage with their small groups? If someone wants to chime in on that.
Let's hear it from Jesse. Jesse, you were saying something on social media the other day that I thought was interesting.
I don't know what I was saying on social media. As far as connecting with our leaders and connecting with them, the main way that we're trying to do that is I'm just encouraging our leaders, like when it comes to social media, just engaging our students there too. And just wherever our students are at, just being, our leaders for the most part are not very active on social media. So me just encouraging them to do that is a step. But even then I'm just making like phone numbers accessible to our leaders and just asking them, hey, just like when you guys have time, like just drop a call to a student. Even if it's just a few a week, makes a huge difference. So it's really just kind of everything I'm doing, just extrapolating that to our students. As far as me building into our leaders, I'm trying to just meet with our leaders once a week kind of thing too. So having like a Zoom call with them and just chatting with them about that. So even before we do a youth night, like I'm having thoughts of like, oh, I could do a youth night next week, but we really want to make sure that our leaders are aware of how the Zoom call works and how everything works on there, because we don't want to get onto a Zoom call with all of our students and then our leaders are just like, I don't know how to do this, I don't know what's going on, like they're just like not able to like use it properly. We want them to feel confident with using this technology, and that when a Tuesday night happens and when all these things start happening, that they're able to use it with excellence. So it's really just training them on that right now, and encouraging them to just pick up the phone, call a student as well. So I just got to make those, we're just making those phone numbers accessible to our leaders.
What's Daniel Kendrick eating right now?
Cereal. I don't like breakfast, and so this is like my favorite time to eat. And so yeah, sorry guys.
Awesome.
Yeah, anyone else for engaging with their volunteers and their leaders?
I think quite a few of us were kind of in spring break mode, eh? I don't know if that would kind of resonate with you guys. So we had a bunch of spring break activities planned, and then we had to, of course, cancel, and then I have next week off, so I'm kind of in that mode of trying to figure things out, trying to get our leaders to kind of trying to engage with students as best as we can. But I wasn't even planning on running any youth ministry for next week, but I think it's important for us to somehow keep on talking to students, because I know with I've got two teens at home that are really bored and they've got nothing to do, and so engaging with their friends, because they can't physically be with them. So last night we ran it and seemed to go really well. The younger ones I found were more connected, but I'm just finding this it's good for us to even have chats and youth events during spring break for sure. So yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Even that comment about spring break, I think has lots of value too. And we're definitely in a weird circumstance, weird times. But thinking if a week goes by that we just give students a break, that they're not getting inundated with emails and resources and all this stuff, right? Could be some food for thought of, as we're in kind of, like you said, a spring break time. When it comes to parents, what have you guys been doing to kind of help support parents, equip parents to kind of carry the torch of the faith leaders in their house, and even just what to do? I've seen so much stuff on like what to do with your toddlers at home during self-isolation quarantine, but I haven't seen really anything out there of how to deal with your teenager when they're now have a 5-month-long summer vacation, right? So if you guys want to speak into how can we equip support parents in this as well.
I think that when you're talking to parents, it's gonna be helpful, obviously, if you have a previous relationship with these parents in regards to keeping up on their kids and what's happening in their homes and things like that. So in that way, you're kind of picking up on the conversations that you've had in the past and the relationship that you've had in the past. Although during a season like this, chances are there's some parents maybe that you don't have a really good relationship with, just because you just haven't talked to them very much. Some of our students kind of get dropped off at the door, and it seems like the vehicle doesn't even stop moving when their kids jump out, right? And so some of those parents, where you're starting new conversations, it's a little bit different, and you kind of have to get to know the parent even. Given that we don't know how long this season is in front of us, I think that this kind of stuff is really important if we want to minister to their teens, that we are able to minister to their parents as well. And so I take time to pray with parents, like over their families and over their students. And then I just kind of conversationally walk through them as if I was talking to a friend on making a decision for their family, on making decisions for their teens and giving them ideas. I've even done just simple things like like asking parents, do you have the items to like build a fire in the backyard? And like 90% of teenagers, when you give them the items to build a fire in the backyard, are like, yeah, I would love to build a fire in the backyard. And just little things like just creating opportunities for the students to do something that's just not boring. And we've had incredible weather in the past little bit, which is fantastic. And so being able to send the students into backyards, I know in Campbell River, at least, people have backyards. Maybe for some of you in the urban areas, you don't always have that. But getting parents to send their kids into the backyard is a really big thing. Even as I'm talking to some of the parents, some of them stop and they're like, wait 1 second. Then I hear them like yell down the hall, go outside. And it's fantastic.
Yeah, that's good. Have any of you guys gotten feedback, requests, things from parents or students? Like, are people asking for resources or things to do at all? Have you guys experienced that? Anyone? Seems like no.
Not yet. And so kind of right now, again, in spring break mode. But I'm trying to connect with parents just in seeing how abreast of what's happening with the youth network. But I think right now it's just some, like, they're not just kind of with our kids, but that's what we're finding anyway.
Yeah, well, let's kind of open this up to just general, any questions that you guys want to ask. We got a lot of incredible people in the Zoom call, lots of brain power. So just throw any questions out there. I just saw one in the chat from Crystal that says, has anyone tried doing anything through a podcast format?
Our first church service that we did on a Sunday was like a podcast style between our lead pastor and our worship pastor. I had a cold at the time, so I couldn't tune in, but that was kind of how they did church. We're not doing like a live church experience. We're doing like a pre-recorded, just because we wanted to avoid, well, making big mistakes in front of a lot of people. And so we did like the pre-recording, and it worked out really well. The back and forth between podcasts is something that most of us enjoy listening to, and I think our church course enjoyed that.
And Rebecca, you said that your church has. How have you guys used podcasting?
Yeah, we do a digital audio service. So Wednesday or during the week, and we release it on Sundays, but we also do a Facebook Live on Sunday. And so it's kind of like 20 to 30 minute sort of, hey, we're here, we're praying for you, we love you, here's an encouragement for you. So we kind of do a dual thing. We do one on digital audio service, so that's via our podcast, and then we do like a Facebook Live thing at this when that gets released.
Yeah, what other questions you guys have floating around in your heads?
I'm not sure if I'm the only one that's concerned that maybe I might get laid off. That's probably something that we're all kind of experiencing, and just kind of wanted to put it out there at least that many of our churches might have to lay off some staff, if not all their staff. And in that situation, everyone go through things differently, but it'd be nice to still be able to tune into community like this. Just because you don't have a good job doesn't mean you're not a youth pastor anymore. And be nice to be a part of a group like this and still be able to minister to our teens, maybe if you're not getting the same paycheck that you were before or something like that. And then just wanted to point out that there's some government help coming. And so if you haven't tuned into what our government's putting out there for people that are getting laid off or that have kids at home or something like that, there's quite a few options out there that are looking pretty interesting.
Yeah, we even have a bunch of our team doing kind of heavy research on that right now as far as EI and government support that we're hopefully going to get out sometime today or tomorrow. So stay tuned for that, because yeah, like Daniel said, that's a real thing that many of us could possibly be facing. And we have to be ready for it, prepared for it. So stay tuned for that. We got a question from Robert saying, how are you all connecting with unchurched families? Has that been in your radar at all? Unchurched families?
Not at all for us.
Pardon?
Not at all.
Do we have anyone doing like a community initiatives?
I don't know. For us, I'm just how I've kind of looked at it is that it's the best way when it comes to like serving like communities right now is not so much through social distancing. Like I think that is like a piece, and just showing that the church is still advocating for that. Like the church isn't just saying like, yeah, we're going to meet anyways or anything. Like the church and mega church in South Korea, like they did that and they're getting slammed in the media for that, right? So I think it's important that churches are almost being overcautious when it comes to that. I think what gets difficult is like I'm not like we're not trained professionals to kind of deliver needs or anything like that. But the best thing that we can do when it comes to our community isn't so much like connecting with unchurched families, like with us personally as like staff. But one thing we're trying to encourage is our church. So is just encouraging them like, hey, call someone if you know someone, like maybe that you have a neighbor who's elderly who may need something from a grocery store, pharmaceutical needs. Like don't hesitate to contact them, pick up the phone and call them. See how you can meet their needs in just those simple ways. Instead of us as a staff going around and taking care of everyone. It's one thing for someone to call up someone that they know that's nearby. It's another for us as a staff to then be in contact with hundreds of people throughout a week, right? We don't want to be in contact with we shouldn't be in contact with hundreds of people. But if we have one person in contact with one person, like if each family in our church is helping out one family, like that can go a long way. So encouraging them just to do that is probably the best way, I think, to do in this season. But I've seen other churches doing serve days and stuff too, and having like hamper drop-offs and stuff like that. And I personally like, man, I'm like, when it comes to like the germ spread and everything like that, I'm just like, I don't know how wise that is, because like I'm not like an expert of like spreading germ or like how not to do that and everything. So so that's where I'm like, as long as if someone's doing that, there needs to be like a lot of precautions taken into that, because if the media gets wind of that, right, that it's like, oh, church opens up the doors to give needs to hundreds and hundreds of people. It's like, well, yeah, you might have canceled your services on a Sunday, but now you've just invited hundreds and hundreds of people to come through your church and be in contact with basically each other anyways. So that's the thing, the risk that I think we need to consider is how can we best serve our community in that and take necessary precautions.
Yeah, I think that's a good call, Jesse. Something that came out of our board meeting on Tuesday was one of the board members had this suggestion. I don't know if you guys have anything like this in your communities, but in Nanaimo, there's this Beacon Hill or something society that's like, it's normally like a news format thing, like a news whatever, but they've like gotten a bunch of volunteers and they're going and training them and being like kind of helping the seniors in our community and you know, running those errands and things like that for them. And they're training up the volunteers, but they're always looking for more volunteers. And so our church just looked at it like, how can we funnel something that like funnel our people who are willing and normally volunteering and doing stuff. How can they plug into something that's already being done in our community? And so that's kind of where we want to usher them, is because then they will get trained to, you know, not pass on germs and stuff like that from people who know what they're doing. And then hopefully we can just, you know, continue serving our community that way, to piggyback on what's already being done, not reinventing something that we don't know what we're doing. And then whatever, I just came out of staff meeting right before I plugged in here. And one of the things that we are wanting to do is just put on our website a form, and it's not going to be just for the church. It'll obviously be through anyone from the community who plugs into our website, but it'll say, the form will be, what do you, I need help, and they fill out a form saying what they need help with, and then we'll assess whether we can help them or get Beacon Hill to help or get someone to help them, or I want to help, so then we can, you know, channel them into volunteer areas around our city, or I need prayer. And so that's what we're hoping to kind of, we're thinking that the community will probably get wind of that and want to plug in more than just our church families, because, you know, it's our community that needs help also. But yes, keeping our doors shut, but still, like, you know, giving people an opportunity to serve and meet the needs of our community is what we're looking at. And then we've always been partnered with our community food bank, Loaves and Fishes. And they're under their direction, the Loaves and Fishes is still going to serve our community, like with their food hampers and stuff, because people still need food. The people living in poverty are probably only going to more so live in poverty right now. And so one of the things that the food bank is doing is they want to use our church parking lot, and it'll require, like, not our volunteers, maybe just like a couple of them that normally plug in, but they want to serve out of their truck into a parking lot. So it's like, it's still giving them food, but it's minimal. Like, you don't have anything to touch to spread the germs other than the boxes, but the people will be wearing gloves and things like that. And so those are just the only ways so far that we found of serving our community, is kind of just supporting the things that are already happening in our community. So yeah.
Yeah, so we've done a couple things at our church as well, like additional to what has already been suggested. And two of those things is, and I'll be honest, because off of another pastor in Montreal. So, but we have, like, phoned our local health authority and just offered our space, because right now nothing is being used in our space. And so we've offered, like, if they want to do swabbing at our church, they're welcome to do so. If they need a space to just have extra office space or whatever. So we've been opening up our space to that. And then one other thing that we've been doing is we have quite a few nurses and doctors and kind of just frontliners at our church. And so we asked them, like, what do you guys need? They're, like, working more shifts. They've been asked to like increase what they're already doing. And so we kind of just asked them, like, what is a nice way to just, like, bless you guys? And so it was a little bit of a strange suggestion, but the biggest need was actually just, like, coffee and donuts being dropped off, just to show that, like, we care, just to show that, like, they are seen. And so one thing we're doing actually today is phoning kind of all of the frontliners. So, like, nurses, doctors, firefighters, police, and just seeing if we can coordinate that. Obviously there has to be some restrictions in place. So it would be like, we would order it from our Tim Hortons, which is closed except for drive-through. Drop them off at the door, in which somebody will come receive it, bring them inside. So there's all of those, like, additional precautions, but we've, like, kind of reached out to those people just because they're working extra hours. They're stepping into the like, kind of fray of what's going on and exposing themselves to kind of virus that is going around. And additional to that is that in them taking that on, it makes their families compromised in some way as well. And so we're just trying to reach out to those people and just kind of consistently ask them what they need, how we can help, and how we can serve, because they're really doing a great job in jumping into that and really giving of themselves more than is required, and compromising themselves in some way. And so we're trying to be a blessing to our community in that as well. And so I think our, like, thought was that we need to overcomplicate how to help these people. But I think what they need to know right now is just that they're known and they're seen and they're appreciated. And so those are kind of some other things that we're doing here in Powell River as well. And kind of additional to what Jesse and Chantel have already kind of suggested.
Great idea.
Maybe I guess for those of you who have like unchurched students in your ministries, I guess that's kind of more what I was wondering. Because, you know, connecting with church families is kind of a different story. You can resource them with, you know, like your Right Now media and be like, you know, hey, can I pray with you and all that stuff. But yeah, for families who are unchurched or hostile to Christianity and you want to still kind of pastor their kids. But anyways, especially like, I guess in my situation, I have to go through the parents for most of this stuff. So it's like, that's something I'm kind of puzzled about and curious about your thoughts.
Yeah, so a lot of my students actually, like, their parents don't go to church. Like, I don't think we have, I think actually, yeah, we have one student whose parent comes to our church currently. So I think just in regards and like contacting with the parents, I think I've, you know, it's sometimes hard to go up to them and be like, hey, like, let me pray for you, like, let me resource you and let me like fill you like spiritually. I think a part of it is, I think Marcus said it really well, in just letting the parents know that they're also seen, that they're heard, and that they're loved, you know, and just kind of like really like bringing that to the forward. And I think, you know, I think with all of these parents having like their kids at home, and a lot of them aren't used to having them home on Friday nights or different things like that as it is, to be able to say like, hey, like, I see you, you know, I know it's probably hard trying to figure out what to do with your like 5 teenagers. Here's an option for them, right? So I think it's just, as you're providing options and different things like that, you're kind of like filling a need that they maybe feel that they have, as they could be overwhelmed or different things. And so I think it's just really, for me anyways, and for what I've been experiencing, it's just been about like keeping up that relationship and just again, just asking like, hey, like, what's a need that you have, right? And I think always, you know, never being, or trying your hardest, I guess, to not be afraid to just like pray, to ask to pray for them, you know, and say like, I don't know, yeah, just and if there's like that hostility and you kind of know there's that hostility there, then I don't really know, but you know. Yeah.
I think also
Sorry, go ahead.
being available to talk. I think parents are scared too, and so you don't have to necessarily be like, can I pray for you, or that kind of thing. I think that we can act like a Christian without like verbally saying, hey, like, I'm gonna show you Jesus's love. I think we can just show them Jesus's love by being present and available, and we can talk to them, and we can just check up on them and say, hey, how are you doing? A lot like what Ashley said, right? Just being present and saying, hey, we have your back, and if there's anything we can do, please let us know. And just know that we are, you know, wanting to care for you guys. And so in this really hard time, and we recognize that there's a lot of stress and a lot of uncertainty, and we're just, you know, and I think you can say, we're praying for you. I don't think anybody's like that hostile that they're going to be like, no, don't pray for me. But like, I think, you know, we can just like, we can be virtually present and we can call them up and we can say, hey, we're, you know, because a lot of people just have a lot of fears that they need to unload. And so if we can be a listening ear, sometimes the best thing to do is the most simplest.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I want to be respectful of you guys' time, and thank you so much for jumping on here. And I think, like, again, if anything, we're better together. You know, let's keep brainstorming different channels of Facebook, email, however we can stay connected. share resources, share things that you guys have been doing with each other. And us as district office will kind of even help be that middle person to help you guys connect. Because we're all going to benefit when we're working together. So thank you so much for being part of this and sharing your thoughts and ideas. I'm going to post one resource that I found in the chat here. That is like a curated list of resources already from ministryboost.org. So if you guys are still thinking and brainstorming or need things, they have access for, or resources for parents, dealing with anxiety, how to hold student ministry when you can't meet in person, how to leverage YouTube for student ministry, resources from Orange Student Ministry, and it's kind of just a really great curated page of a bunch of awesome resources. So encourage you guys to check that out. And one other thing that I've been thinking about too with student ministries is our grads, and just the impact that this has had on them. And a lot of them might even brush it off. A lot of us, thinking back to high school and going like, grad's not worth it. Like, it was a waste of time anyways. You forget about it after a few years. But for them, it's real. It's huge. It's devastating. And a lot of them are going to be going through that grieving process. Some of them, whatever their prom, their grad has been canceled, their ceremony's canceled. It's a big deal for them. So just, I'd encourage you guys to especially lean into that. And, don't just take it lightheartedly, but, those grade 12s, again, many of them will be going through grief because it is a loss for them. And it is real. So pastor them, lead them through that the best you can. And I don't know, maybe there could be some virtual grad party that you guys can do for grads. Do any of you guys do like a grad banquet or a grad thing typically for grade 12s? I see a few of you nodding your heads, and
depending on how many we have.
Yeah.
The other thing that our students are really upset and kind of heard about is like band trips and what are some other ones? Like even the possibility of History Maker being canceled. I know that we're all thinking that too, right? So all these things are being canceled that students look forward to. Yeah. So trying to help and encourage, and that's just something we've had to like talk with students about.
Yeah, for sure. And I know I've seen a lot of things about anxiety being posted and how to coach people and teens and kids and everyone through anxiety in a crisis. But it's also grief. It's also just the sense of being overwhelmed. There's just so much going on right now. It's just a lot of information for people to process, and it's being overwhelmed, I think, more than anything. And Trevor, as you mentioned, History Maker, just to give you guys all an update on that, our district leadership team is going to make that call in just a few days here. So just stay tuned for that. It's still kind of up in the air right now, but in the next few days, there will be a firm decision whether it's going to be canceled, postponed, or whether we're just going to weather it out and go ahead with it. But in the next few days, we'll get that communication out to you guys, because I know even for students and parents and you guys, it's been on your mind of how do you fundraise, how do you sell tickets, it's kind of right at a standstill right now. So we'll make sure we get that out to you guys. Before we kind of sign off here, let me pray for you guys, and then we can go conquer the world and do what we can to pastor, to shepherd, and to be a light. So let me pray. God, I just thank you so much for this incredible network of pastors, of leaders, and just pray that you would just give us incredible guidance and wisdom and direction through this time. God, give us compassion, give us empathy. God, help us to relate to those that are going through things that we can't understand. And God, just pray for an incredible peace over everyone here. God, as they're even thinking through what could happen to their livelihood, how is it going to work if they get laid off, or all these unknowns. So God, we just pray for incredible peace that you give that just goes beyond all understanding. And just pray for innovation and creativity. God, as church is just evolving rapidly into new areas and new ways of doing ministry, God, may it just bear fruit. May we see just incredible things come from the creativity and innovation and ideas that are just blossoming out of this chaos. So God, be with everyone here. Thank you for their time and everyone that invested into this conversation, and just be with us as we go about our days and our weeks. Keep us safe, keep us healthy. And we pray this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. So yeah, everyone take care, stay strong, and stay connected. So thank you, and we'll see you guys soon, and we'll keep communicating. So